Did you know a lot of students don't know how to start a presentation? Don't start it in the right place. Lots of times students straight up say, my name is, this is my topic, and they launch into their first main point. So where do you start? You start by getting organized. And I have a template here for you on the requirements of an organized presentation. And you may notice the thing I have up on top is audience analysis. And I've written, how can you tune them into the station WIIFM? And you may be wondering, what is this station? Well, this station stands for what's in it for me. And so if you can get your audience thinking about what they're going to get out of a presentation, you're going to be able to get their attention a lot better. And you may notice too that when you look at this handout under introduction, the attention getter is actually the first thing that you do when you present. And there are a lot of different ways to get people's attention. You can ask them a question like I did with you. How can you tune them into the station WIIFM? Another thing you can do to go along with that is simply don't do an information dump. Actually address the people as people. Speak to them. Don't just download information into their computer brains. Treat them as human beings and give them a gift. Have something of value, something that is important to you that you want to share as a gift to them. And when you can do that, you're going to really hook people in, and hopefully you yourself will be much more excited about presenting. Knowing that you have something of value to share, something that's important to you, will give you much more confidence. And that brings us to the second thing in the introduction. That's your purpose statement. Now, again, you don't just want to do a topic statement. A topic statement just says, hey, this is my topic, and here's my first main point. Don't do that. A purpose statement answers the why question. Why do you, as the presenter, care? Why is the information important? Why should the audience care? What are they going to get out of it? A purpose statement somehow answers all of these questions. Okay, so for my little audio recording presentation to you, why am I teaching you the requirements of an organized presentation? It's not because I like checklists. It's not because I like rules. It's because I want you to be a great presenter, and I want you to be organized and well prepared, and I want you to be successful. When you can prepare a speech that meets each of the requirements of an organized speech, you're going to be a lot more successful, and your presentations are going to be received and valued much more by your audience. Okay, so that's my reason, that's my purpose. And we can move along to the preview statement. You may wonder, what is that? What is a preview statement? Well, it's real simple. It's kind of like the table of contents in a book. Table of contents tells you the chapters that will be in the book. It's kind of like a map. A map tells you where you are going to go on a journey. A preview simply states what each of the main points are. So if I was to give a presentation on the sales of Nike shoes on the West Coast, I could preview each of my main points by saying, first, I'm going to tell you about the sale of Nike shoes in Washington. Second, I'm going to tell you about the sales of Nike shoes in Oregon. And third, I'm going to tell you about the sales of Nike shoes in California. That first, second, third language is called signposting. Okay, so in terms of the body, these are simply your main points. And what's important is that they're clear and they're distinguishable and they go in the order of your preview. Okay. Sometimes people get their main points jumbled up. You don't want to do that. You want to have real clear, distinguishable main points. Okay. So main points need support. For this project that you're going to be working on, this first one where you're teaching the principles of presentations and you're drawing direct quotes and examples from your books, well, your support could come in the form of definitions, direct quotes, actual presentation examples from places like TED Talks, or maybe even political speeches, or maybe even speeches from a movie or a television show. Each of those could work. You could even have support that's anecdotal. It could be a story from your own life. So whatever you're doing, you want to illustrate the main ideas, the main principles with different forms of support. Some should be direct quotes, some should be actual examples. And don't just throw it out there and say, here's this direct quote or here's this example. Tell us, hey, in the author's words, and then tell us what it means to you. And don't just show us a TED clip. Tell us how that TED clip relates to the direct quote you just gave us. And likewise, if you've shown a clip from a TED Talk and it's supposed to be showing us a principle about presentations, maybe a principle of the jaw-dropping moment or what makes for a great story, uh, tell us exactly why it was a jaw-dropping moment and why it was effective. Or if you're doing something with storytelling, show us the clip and tell us, hey, this is why you thought this was a great example of the storytelling principle from the book. So basically, connect the dots for us. Okay, so imagine that you have done your attention getter, you've done your purpose statement, you've done your previous statement, you have launched into your first main point and you've given different forms of support. Now you're ready to transition to your second main point. So have some kind of a transition statement prepared, launch into your second main point, and basically do the same kinds of things. Provide direct quotes, interpret the author's words, put it into your own words, provide specific examples from actual presenters, and then do another transition. You may have 3 or 4 main points. You may even have 5 main points. I would not recommend having more than 7 main points. Somewhere between 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 is typical. 7 possibly, but we want to have a balance of breadth and depth. And if you have too many main points, it's going to be hard to provide the details. Okay, so moving on. The last thing will be the conclusion. You want to do a summary. Typically, what I think of with the summary is the highlights. What do you want people to remember? What were the best parts? What is most important to you? What is most useful? All of those things can go into the summary. After you've done the summary, you will want to provide concluding remarks. How do you want to finish? How do you want to end? So think through that and make sure you have something prepared. Now, typically in a live audience, there would be a question and answer spot, and I would have you prepare questions. You could end with a solid quote, a solid thing you want people to remember for your final statement, or possibly you could do your own kind of Q&A. You could anticipate a couple of questions that you might think people would have of you, and you could actually answer those questions. That would be a cool way to end. So whatever you do, make sure that you go through each of the things in this template, actually do each of the steps. I'm going to be looking for that. And when you do, it's going to help you to be successful.